Hey, it's the beginning of the month of February 2024, and you know what time it is. This is the Defender XDR news for February 2024. Okay, so this is coming right from the Program Manager High Creatures newsletter here, and I'm going to cover each and every section here. There's been a lot of updates. What we've had here for Defender XDR platform first were a lot of user experience enhancements. So new ways to filter data within incidents, new way to manage the incidents, also new ways to deal with advanced hunting queries. Now we have history, and there's a little bit more as well. So let's get to it. So first and foremost, everything on the user experience perspective. I want to show you what one of these big releases look like. This is the ability to add filters to your incident queue and save these filters. So for example, I can add a filter here to a status that perhaps will include a particular status for incidents. But not only that, for my particular workflow, I would like to also filter by a multiple service source. So if I am a SOC analyst that only looks at email alerts, for example, or email incidents, I could create a filter just for that for me. If within my particular organization, I have a particular set of SOC analysts, tier 3, for example, that only look at very high priority devices, I can set up a particular filter just with specific device groups in them. And so you can see how creative you can be and create and slice and dice this in multiple ways so that it suits your operations that way. And you can save these filters, you can name them however you want, and then you can find them in this list right here. So this will be a list with everything you created here in terms of these filter sets. That's really good. Something else that was added was the ability under advanced hunting, the ability to save history of up to 30 queries. And then what you can do is rerun these up to 30 last queries for the past 28 days, rerun the queries again as part of your experience from an analyst perspective. So that just helps you keep track of what was run, and of course, perhaps run again if there's a need for you to look back into that particular query. So when we're dealing with incidents, we now have a revamped way to interact with incident activity log. So looking at this particular incident activity log, I can add comment here, and now it accepts rich text format. So I can add italic, bold, links. I can add more in different ways, more data in here in different ways that makes more expressive for the SOC analysts to add their commentary here. And if you integrated this commentary with Sentinel, everything gets passed along as well. Next up, within the Defender XDR suite, officially on the 15th of January, we've had the GA, or general availability, of Defender for Cloud alerts being integrated into the XDR platform. So this is a major benefit of the XDR platform by Microsoft. Not only do you get endpoints, email, cloud apps, and identity alerts correlated into your XDR platform, but now you also get your cloud infrastructure protected by Defender for Cloud, correlated with all these different signals and domains as well. And soon, as you know, the private preview with Sentinel, we're going to get even more exciting information within our XDR portal there. So it's really exciting to see the GA of that Defender for Cloud alerts into the XDR portal. Defender Threat Intelligence now has automatic file and URL detonation. So this is a very exciting feature, because now when we go into your Defender XDR portal and you have Defender Threat Intelligence enabled in your tenant, what you get is you get the ability to, of course, look for a file or a URL as part of the Intel Explorer, sure. But if you don't get a result straight away, now the platform automatically resends a request for that particular request to the backend, and it attempts to run it again, and it'll then send you the results back in up to 2 hours, I believe. It's what's currently stated here in the document here. If you are not served your URL detonation at the search of a request, you'll get it later. So that's automatically done by the platform. So that's great. Next up, what's new with security experts? Now there's new ways that security experts can interact with your team. Previously, you would have ways to interact via email and via the chat within the XDR portal itself, but now Microsoft Teams is another option. So you can enable in the portal and just allow Defender experts to communicate with your SOC team via Teams. I don't generally cover articles that have been released here, but you should definitely check them out if they're interesting to you. But I do want to call out for any security analyst that's listening to this. If you want to just learn a little bit about what a security analyst profile looks like from someone that works at Microsoft within the security expert service, I highly recommend you have a look at this analyst profile page for Arlet. It's great to see one of those professionals talking about a little bit about what they do and how they are using the platform and supporting customers in that way. Next up is a way to test the configurations within your Defender experts and your SOC configuration for notifications. So now we have the ability to get sample alerts from Defender experts into your environment so that you try out your workflow. It's pretty straightforward, really. It's just a way so that you know what will happen if there is a Defender experts notification happening in your environment. So it'll just help you understand what process will kick in. It will ensure that the emails that you're getting are going to where they should go. So just a really good way to ensure that your setup is done proper before there is an actual notification that you need to look at. Next up, Defender for Endpoint. This year is quite exciting. I've been talking to a customer about this. Dynamic rules for tagging devices is now generally available. This had been in public preview for the last couple months. So just going to the portal here, what you will be able to do now is to essentially create dynamic tags into your devices based on asset rules. So you create rules so that devices are tagged in your environment, and that create multiple ways that you can apply policies, or that you can, of course, create filters based on those dynamic tags. So we start seeing how these very minimal additions to the platform and the user experience really help you go a long way into supporting your SOC in multiple different ways. The way you do that, you just go to the settings of Defender XDR, and then you'll see the asset rule management right here, and then you'll be able to create new rules in here. So these rules, for example, made up of multiple filters. So for example, I would choose in here a particular device name. A device name would start with whatever information I want, and then I can add different filters that will further help me define what sort of assets should be part of this rule, and then I can use this further up as part of the tagging that will be added to these devices that meet these criteria. So really helpful feature there, gone GA. Next up, Defender for Identity. So last month I spoke about the ITDR experience within the portal. That's awesome. Have a look at that again if you haven't yet. So just another way to flesh out identity threats detection and response information to analysts. Just a great way. There's a new PowerShell module that helps you simplify the deployment and configuration of Defender for Identity. So for anyone utilizing PowerShell to roll out at scale, this is highly recommended. And there's a raft of commentary and content on this as well with upcoming Ninja Shell episodes. So watch out Heike and her interviewees soon. There's also a great video by John Saville on Defender for Identity. I highly recommend you have a look, because he goes a little deep into how to configure it. So that's really cool. And lastly, now you can view Active Directory group entity related activities and alerts from the last 180 days. So about half a year in Defender XDR, such as group membership changes, LDAP queries, and so on. And these are all available on the timeline group details pane. So that's just a better way for you to investigate for a longer period of time, essentially. Next up, Defender for Cloud Apps. So this here is really exciting for me because we in this industry, we can see new trends and the importance of anything security posture management, right? And now what we have as part of Defender for Cloud Apps is the support for SaaS security posture management across multiple instances of the same app. So what this means is actually if you have multiple instances of AWS, you can configure secure score recommendations to each one of them individually. And each instance will show up as a separate item on the app connectors page. So I highly recommend you have a look at that capability. And the SSPM capability is something that I'm really looking forward to explore soon, because It helps us reduce the risk of having these third-party services and needing to have these third-party services, as we all need as part of large enterprises, right? There are services that we need and that we need to ensure that it's properly configured. Having a tool that can help us do that, such as Defender for Cloud Apps, well, that's amazing. So that's really exciting piece of news for that particular solution set right there. Next up is a preview for something very interesting. So before we would have session policies limit on the number of files that could be uploaded, but now session policies support control over uploading folders with more than 100 files, right? With no limit to the number of files that can be included in the upload. So that means, yeah, if users are bulk uploading files to a website that's protected by Defender for Cloud Apps, well, now session policies will support the control of this bulk upload of files. Next up, Defender for Office 365. So as we know, there has been a rise over attacks over QR code. And so what is part of Defender for Office 365, and I've spoken about it in the past as well, is awareness training capabilities, right? Or simulation training campaigns that can be released and created as part of Defender for Office. What's great, starting recently, just last month, is the ability to train users against QR code phishing, right? So it's just a new training module that's available for the simulation training from MDO in partnership with Fortress Terra Nova Security, which is the provider of the training. So that's just to help you create a campaign focused to educate your users around the risks of QR code phishing there. So that's really good to know that you can just create a campaign for your users to educate them on that. Next up, I want to go to Defender Vulnerability Management. This is quite exciting. Now we have the vulnerable components inventory in public preview within Defender Vulnerability Management. So when we look at inventories, we will have a blade or a section just for vulnerable components. Let me check and see if I have it in my tenant. And I absolutely do. It's right here. So I can see vulnerable components already available in my tenant, and you should have it in yours too, right? So this is what vulnerable components are in my environment. I will probably have to blur this out because I don't want to expose what's vulnerable in my environment. But apparently, one of these items actually has threats available to it. Thankfully, no active incidents exploiting any of these threats in my environment. So that's really good. But hey, just a way to manage the supply chain risks in your environment in a way that's a little easier to consume. And what's included in this vulnerable components is just described around here. And what's included in the vulnerable components page is described in the official page here from Tech Community. Currently, only a few devices or a few applications are supported. So we can see the list here of currently supported components such as Apache Log4j, Apache Struts, which is newly supported, LightDB, OpenSSL. So this list is, of course, going to grow. But it's great to see just how many open source common components part of our software supply chain are actually available in here already. And of course, it'll only grow from here. So that's awesome to see. With that all said, these are all the highlights for the month of February 2024 coming into Defender XDR. Hopefully you found this informative, and if you did, make sure you leave a comment, leave a like, and if you don't like, well, tell me why, right? Otherwise, see you next month.